Well, shooters and reloaders out there, it's Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the hot lead zone, and I'm in my reloading room at my second reloading bench, and the question tonight is about the Lee factory crimp die for revolvers, specifically 38 Special 357 Magnum caliber. And here is the Lee factory crimp die for that caliber. Now, you've heard me say on many occasions that the Lee factory crimp die gives us the best crimp in the business. Well, it turns out that for many years you've been reloading your revolvers, your 38 Specials, 357 Magnums with dies other than the Lee factory crimp die, and you've been very happy with the results, right? Well, let me show you the actual benefit of the Lee factory crimp die from another perspective that you may not have considered. So here is a typical factory 38 Special round, and you'll see that if you measure the case outside dimension where the bullet is, you get 3.745 or about 0.375. Now that dimension gives you what we call factory specifications, and certainly you can use a chamber gauge for testing the entry of this into a chamber, but we can use a cylinder from one of our single action pistols just fine. You notice that you put the factory round in and it just drops right in. Not only does it drop right in, but it drops right out. So it's possible for us to be reloading for years using die sets that don't have the Lee factory crimp die, and we go ahead and load our rounds at the range and shoot them, and we might be very happy but some of our rounds don't quite go in, and in fact we've got to give it a little push to get those in. And then when you want to drop them out, they don't all drop out. Well, the reason that that happens is if you mic your outside diameters, you're going to get rounds that are anywhere from 376 to 377, 3765. So instead of 0.375, we're getting 1/1000ths to 15/10,000ths bigger. You might even get the occasional 3775. And those might be very hard to chamber and will stick badly, but you can still force it in with your thumb and probably still shoot it, but you don't want that. This is what a 0.3775 looks like. And again, you could force that in with your finger and then go ahead and fire that round at the range, but if you had this happen, you really don't want that if you could help it. Take that same round and run it through the Lee factory crimp die. Now you see, you can feel the carbide insert. They're actually resizing that, and then if you run that right through, you see it drops right in. Plus, if you look at that very closely, you'll see that those crimps, where the case mouth is actually crimped into the crimping groove, is very nicely done. It actually added a little more crimp to what I had in there already and makes it a better overall, more consistent crimp. So the Lee factory crimp die is a very useful die for us reloaders. So to adjust the die, what you do is you take the ram and you go ahead and set it like you do any other carbide die, and that is you screw the die body down until the die body touches the shell holder. Then you back off the crimp stem, and then you go ahead and take your round, run it in, screw the stem down until it contacts the case mouth, then back off the ram, screw the crimp stem down another half turn to get a nice crimp, a full turn to get a heavy crimp. So just like you saw before, now that round, instead of sticking, just drops right in and drops right out. So reloaders, you might ask, does the Lee factory crimp die resize our reloads back to, say, the factory standard of 0.375 inch? And the answer is no, it doesn't quite do that, because Lee didn't design it to do it that way. This round started out at 0.3775 inch, and it wouldn't go into the chamber smoothly. But once the Lee factory crimp die got through with it, what it did was it brought it back to 0.377 inch, but it got rid of any irregular bulges in the case, so that this round now just drops right into the cylinder. And that's what we want. Well, reloaders, another question you might have is, if you use a standard seating crimping die and you only load jacketed bullets, then do you ever need to have a Lee factory crimp die? And the answer to that question is, yes, this is still a very handy die to have, even if you only load jacketed ammo. Because the problem is that these kind of dies can cause case bulges when the crimp is applied. And if you get that case bulge, you could get hang-ups in the chambering of rounds. For instance, if you take this jacketed round and you drop it in, you'll see that that one has the same problem. Neither one of these two rounds, the cast bullet or the jacketed bullet, completely goes into the chamber because of funny little bulges, irregular bulges introduced into the case when the crimps were applied. The Lee factory crimp die will get rid of those irregular bulges and allow the rounds to chamber. So you take that jacketed round that won't chamber because it's got a bulge from the crimping operation, and run that into the Lee factory crimp die and feel that constriction being resized. Then if you go ahead and chamber that, there you go. And it should just drop right out. There it goes. So even if you're doing jacketed ammo, the Lee factory crimp die can be very useful. And there it is, the little rascal right there. But I really like what the Lee factory crimp die does for our cast bullet reloads, because as you can see here, it makes them work real well. Just 6 out of random. So you see, I've got the load to test that was run through the Lee factory crimp die, and here's 40 rounds loaded without the Lee factory crimp die, and we'll go ahead and test these 40 compared to these 40 and come back to you with another video.